Hey everyone, welcome back. I've got some wonderful online dating stories for you. With that said, whether you're sitting around a campfire, on the night shift, or even laying in bed, let my voice soothe your nightmares. There's this guy Josh in my college class. He's not mean, I guess, but he's an idiot and he irritates the hell out of me. Every single smoke break, without fail, he bums a cigarette off me. In the 10 months I've known him, he hasn't brought his own once. Another thing he does that irks me is he often texts me asking for answers on homework. I have no idea how he got my number. One time in particular, we had the following exchange. Copy and pasted for your convenience. Josh: what did you put for chapter 12, question 7? Me: I don't have my book with me. What's the question? Josh: it's chapter 12, question 7. I just told you I don't have my book, dumbass. I could fill a book with examples of him being a dipshit. But what kicks the story off was when our whole class went to the bar to celebrate midterms being over. My best friend in the class is named Lindsay. Tinder, the app that allows you to swipe between people, solely based on their appearance, of course. Young people's heaven, right? What started off as some harmless fun escalated into a complete nightmare. I'd like to say at this point that I was never into dating apps. The whole concept was too weird. After watching an episode of MTV's Catfish, it confirmed my belief that talking to and meeting people online was a bad idea. However, after months of my friends using Tinder, I thought, fuck it, and just decided to download it. What could be the harm of it? My ex had cheated on me a few months prior, so after countless days of mourning the relationship and questioning everything possible that I could have done wrong, I decided to get back into the dating game. After a few days of using the app, I started to get into it. 50 matches and 6 proper conversations with people. To me, that was an achievement. Then, I saw Hannah. Her profile was in a league of her own. Her pictures were beyond perfection. Her profile bio talking about her previous experience working in clubs and studying fashion at Northampton College. She was beautiful. I swiped yes, hoping it would match us. It was, and I couldn't believe my luck. I wanted to keep it cool and not message her too quickly. After what seemed like a day, approximately half an hour, I said, "Hey," and got no reply. I started to panic. Fuck, I must have messed it up, I thought. I went through all the possible ways I could have fucked up with "Hey." Should I have said hi? Sup? Too late now. An hour passed. My phone vibrated. A Tinder notification from Hannah. "Hey." Success. And so we began talking, discussing our hobbies, interests, previous relationships, the lot. After a few days of talking, I felt like I knew this girl inside out. Her parents had separated and she lived with her dad, taking on 2 jobs to support herself and him. She was a Virgo, I was as well. It was going great. It got to the point where I just felt right to ask, any chance we could meet up at some point? Get a drink or go for a coffee? Sure. My heart raced. I didn't think she would have said yes. We exchanged numbers and continued texting for a while, arranging to meet at Sazerac, a cocktail bar in Northampton. 8 p.m. that night, I got on the bus and started walking towards the bar, my heart racing and palms beginning to sweat. What if she thought I was ugly? I kept thinking. I approached the entrance of the bar, arranging to meet her before we went in. This is where it got weird. She didn't text much that day. Just short sentences and long amounts of time between responses. I assumed she was just nervous. My phone vibrated. Hannah. Babe, I just walked past you. You were so much more beautiful in person. I was too nervous to say hi. Please forgive me. I looked up from my phone and scanned the street area surrounding me. Just a few students and some elderly people coming home from the theater. Where are you? I want to meet you. I texted. No response. I texted again. You winded me up? LOL. And still nothing. Maybe I had got catfished? I mean, this girl couldn't possibly be intimidated by me. She was too attractive to be. My phone bleeped. Please forgive me. Now, I was getting pretty creeped out. The combination of the darkness and the lack of people on the streets didn't help. I kept looking around to try and see her. Then, out of the corner of my eye, on the other side of the road and further down the street, a silhouette of someone standing, facing me. It was too dark to make out any features of the person. I just noticed a long black jacket with the hood up. It couldn't have been her. I slowly reached into my pocket and sent her a blank text, my gaze still firmly on this figure. A phone lit up in its hand. Fuck this, I thought, and started power walking the other way. Who was it? Another text. Why are you walking away? Am I not pretty? That did it for me. I knew I had been played. I felt like a complete idiot for falling for it. All I could think was getting back home and forgetting this ever happened. Hannah. I am a pretty girl. You will see. That made my skin crawl. I refused to respond to it. All I could picture was some strange woman texting me now. The aura of Hannah was instantly gone. The whole way home, I felt like I was being followed. I didn't know if it was just my paranoia or if someone actually was. Either way, I had to get home. I lunged through the front door, locking it and checking all the windows and back doors were locked. I needed to get some sleep. It took me a while to drift off, my mind still replaying that figure standing there. 4 a.m. I woke to the vibration of my phone, the immediate brightness blurring my vision. As my eyes adjusted to the screen, I looked at the notification. It was Hannah. My heart froze. I opened the message and it took me a second to process what I was looking at. It was a picture message. A message from Hannah. My blood went cold. On my screen was a picture of my bedroom from the door. Attached to the photo was Sleeping Beauty. I was facing away from the now open bedroom door, knowing full well before I went to sleep I had closed it. The light from the hall had illuminated part of my room. I sat up in bed almost instantly, head now facing the door. Standing in the doorway, in a dirty, ripped knee-length pink dress was a man. A 5-foot, extremely elderly man wearing a blonde wig and what I could make out to be pink eyeshadow and red lipstick. His eyes were wide and fixated on me. The room was silent, and all I could hear was his heavy breathing. I looked in horror at this figure standing not 5 meters away from me. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I just sat there on my bed in complete terror. The man took a step forward, so he was in better vision. His salivating mouth formed an abnormally large, cartoon-like smile. "Don't you think I'm pretty?" he said in a hoarse voice, his mouth still grinning. Words tried forming in my head, but none of them would come out. I couldn't speak, and I couldn't move. My heart was going into overload. Who are you?" I could hear the fear in my voice. I couldn't think properly, and my legs went limp. The figure just stood there, eyes penetrating my soul. His smile grew larger, saliva dripping down his smudged lipstick. "I'm Hannah, and I am a pretty girl." I love dating apps. Who can blame me? Meeting new, exciting people, and sometimes, if the chemistry is right, having sex. Why not? There's been a thing on the news about people going missing. But hey, this world is way too big to be cooped up at home with childhood friends. I've seen dozens of guys and girls this year alone. A date every 3 days or so. I guess I'm trying to find the one. Someone that would make my life in this huge city more fulfilling, more interesting. Someone to share the joy with. I think my profile is relatively good. First picture, I'm standing against a red brick wall, wearing a white dress, heels, red lipstick, and sunglasses. Second picture, a selfie of me laying on the bed, on my belly. Legs up, and you can see my eyes though. Camera cuts at my nose, trying to be sexy and intriguing. Give me a break. Third picture is of me from the back, wearing shorts and a crop top. My hair down and in curls. I'm 19, so the attention I attract is enough. I've been talking to 4 people at this point. Haven't met up with either of them just yet. Joe is exciting though. This guy, Tom, is my first option at the moment. He's hot and clever and funny. He might be the one. Second option would be Jessica. She is not quite my type, but we clicked immediately. Tom messaged me while I was typing this up. "Hey gorgeous, what you up to?" "Hey you, not much, just doing some uni work. What about yourself?" "Just trying to eradicate my hangover. Was a wild one last night. Help me to get better?" I just can't feel sorry for you and your self-induced pain, Tom. Should have known better, haha. What do you have in mind?" So, long story short, he asked me on a date this evening, which I accepted. I'm bored and have no plans. We agreed to meet up in Westminster. Yeah, the busy, busy Westminster, near the Big Ben. I decide to wear a dress, thick jacket, sneakers, and bring my backpack, going for the casual girly look. So, I got my train here. I'm a tad early. It's 18:36. I have another 24 minutes, so I decide to walk around. I take a seat using a newspaper that states something silly about increase in murders of young people. That's London for you. I make sure I don't ruin my dress. I haven't been at Westminster for months now, and I'm happy it's such a busy place. Makes everyone feel safer when you meet a stranger in public. I see Tom with his phone in his hand. He's wearing black jeans, a t-shirt, and an unbuttoned blue shirt. He looks good. Tom kept looking at his phone, and people. My profile picture on display of his phone, no doubt. We made eye contact. I smiled and came closer to him to say hi. We head across the bridge to the arcade room to play some games and get rid of that awkwardness when you just meet in person. I'm nervous because he seems so perfect. Even too perfect. After spending a few hours there, we decide to go for a walk. The stroll around, walk past Westminster Abbey, cross a road and then turn right. It's all fine, as we chat and have a laugh. But I notice how we leave more populated streets behind us. I glanced at him and he looked happy and calm. Too calm. We approach a small park, and it's poorly lit, and looks quite empty. There's a fountain on my right that's relatively loud. I look back at Tom and he's giving me a questioning look, asking me if everything's okay. Tom, I don't feel comfortable about this. Can we go somewhere else instead? Don't be silly. Come on. Are you afraid of the dark park? My smile dropped. How dare he mock me? I'm tempted just to go home. But also, I want to prove him wrong. Silly me indeed, as I followed him to the park. As we got a bit deeper, and Private Tom wasn't being his charming self. Instead, he kept on answering abruptly to my questions. Then, he stopped in his path. I looked up at this 6'4" guy, confused. Why are we not moving? He looked straight into my eyes and pushed me into a tree, holding my head up, kissing me. I couldn't move. I couldn't figure out how to escape. He was holding my hands with his. His body was pushed into mine, so I couldn't move at all. I figured a way to escape. Tom, I have a blanket in my backpack. Let me get it out and we can get more comfortable. Also, condoms. He smiled, happy with me being into this. Okay, gorgeous. Let's get to it then. I bent down to open my backpack, and Tom is all about my ass. Can't put his hands off. You were perfect. Before he could say what, I sliced a massive gash into his abdomen with a hunting knife. When it got stuck in the muscle, I twisted it, and Tom started screaming. So I twisted it again, and then ripped it out. His mouth with blood pouring out, his eyes terrified. I smiled just to put him out of his misery by slashing his throat. Then I cleaned up from all the splatter, put on my spare change of clothes and packed the dirty ones in my backpack. I left him there and went home. Tom was so perfect, and yet another one that is just a pig. This town is crawling with pigs and asses. Well, there's about to be 26 less now. You're welcome. Oh, and Jess just messaged me. Guess who's meeting their perfect match tomorrow? Out of every tragedy that has befallen humanity in my lifetime, besides the feeling of sympathy and shared loss with those that have suffered, it was always the feeling of, I don't think that would ever happen to me. I unfortunately found out the hard way that sometimes it does. It was late October of 2017, when I was going for a walk throughout the city. It had snowed a few days prior, and snow was still shoveled and plowed up against the sidewalks. Besides that, roads were good and the sidewalks were easy enough to walk on, with a few cases of black ice cropping up. I usually walked around 8 p.m. every night as a college kid, and it helped me relieve some stress, and was something I would just do to clear my head or people watch. That night, had it have not been for the events yet to transpire, wouldn't have been out of the ordinary. I left my dorm room around 7:45, made it downstairs and left campus. I typically walk for about 2 miles around the city and circle back to my dorm, usually around 9:30 or 10, depending on weather and traffic. During my walk, I spotted my little sister. She was 15 at the time this took place, and looked to be leaving her dance class. Every now and then, her and I would meet up during my walks after her class had ended and have dinner together. During my walk, I spotted my little sister. She was 15 at the time this took place, and looked to be leaving her dance class. Every now and then, her and I would meet up during my walks after her class had ended and have dinner together, as we've always been very close. This time, we hadn't mentioned a meetup, and it was just a stroke of coincidence that I had spotted her. She looked to be on the phone, and she hadn't seen me. Not that she was likely to, as the sidewalks even at this time of night were busy in the city. Not wanting to interrupt anything, I stayed a ways from her, enough for about 4 people to stand in between us in a single file line. I just slowly followed, and she seemed to be having an argument on the phone. I thought perhaps it could be our mom hounding her about dance going later than it should, as my mom never liked her being out so late. Or perhaps it could be her new boyfriend. A few weeks ago, when we were having dinner, she had mentioned she was going on a Tinder date the next day. Then, later texted me they were official. It was very sweet. I remembered my first encounters of love during my high school years. Quite a naive and innocent time. I soon snapped out of my little trip down memory lane when I heard my sister say something in a frightened tone. "What do you mean you're close by and can see me?" I could feel the hair on the back of my neck jolt up. Who is she talking to? And why was she so frightened of this person? Suddenly, before I could run up to talk to her, I got a phone call. It was my mother. I stopped walking and answered the phone. "Mom, what's up? Everything okay?" "David!" she yelled. I could hear her panic in her voice. "David, I need you to listen to me. Have you seen your sister?" I looked up to see where she had walked to, but I couldn't see her anymore, and the sidewalks were still crowded. "Yeah, I've seen her. I'm not sure where she went. I was just about to run up to her when you called. She looked to be just leaving dance, but was on the phone with someone. What's going on?" "I know Tanya's told you about the guy she's been seeing. Well, I doubt she mentioned the fact that her 16-year-old date is actually 27. "What?" Tanya hadn't told me any of this. Why wouldn't she tell me? And what the hell was she thinking? I had always thought Tinder and other dating apps were sketchy as all hell. "Well, when I found out, I confronted the two of them about it, and the boyfriend and I argued about it for an hour. when he stormed off. Tanya threw a hissy fit for a while, but finally told me she was getting scared as the guy kept making advances towards her and followed her. He had been waiting for her after school, dance, and anywhere she went with her friends. She finally broke up with him a few days ago because it was beginning to frighten her. But I've been worried about him following her again. I've been trying to call her since dance ended and she hadn't been answering. I'll find her right now and call you back. Hanging up the phone, I started quickly walking around heaps of people, frantically darting my head back and forth searching for my sister. Paranoia consuming my thoughts. I remember what she said on the phone. It had to be that psycho of an ex following her. Where the hell was she? After pushing through people searching for about 5 minutes, I finally saw her across the street, as she had walked across at a light. I had 4 seconds to cross as the flashing red hand counted down. I ran as hard as I could, barely making it as the light turned red, as I was only 3/4 of the way across. She had gained some ground walking down the street, but I saw she was looking around nervously, heading for what looked like a bus stop. I called out for her when she turned around to look for me. As she did, I saw someone dart out of an alley beside her and yank her into the alleyway. I was sprinting at this point as I yelled out her name. I yelled at 2 cops as I ran by. "Someone's kidnapping my sister!" It startled them, but as I was running, I heard one of them say something into what I can imagine was his walkie. I whipped around the corner into the alleyway, and as I did, a car ran into me. It knocked my legs out from under me and sent me tumbling to the driver's side and onto the pavement. I felt my right shin shatter, and the pain was unbearable. I tried to stand but immediately collapsed from the pain. I yelled out for her, and when I heard a car crash about a block away, turns out the son of a bitch tried to run a red light and was T-boned by a Silverado about 1/4 of the way across the intersection. The 2 cops I had yelled at had seen the commotion. One ran to the crash as the other went to check on me. The officer ran up to me and asked what had happened. I told her everything as she radioed for an ambulance. The other officer had apparently apprehended the boyfriend. He had broken his arm and collarbone from the crash while my sister only had a few cuts and bruises. The ambulance took me to the hospital, and while I got a splint for my leg, the officers talked to me and my sister about what had happened. Apparently, this guy my sister had been dating had a warrant out for his arrest in a different state, and in his car was a knife, duct tape, and a few other supplies they said were most likely going to be used to decompose a body. They wouldn't tell us specifics, but they did tell us the suspicion was this man was going to take my sister out of town, kill her, and then dispose of the body. It haunts me to think of my sister going through that nightmare. Since then, he's been locked up with a 40-year prison sentence, and a restraining order filed against my entire family. We've also moved states since then. I write this for anyone willing to listen. Had I not a pure chance bumped into my sister, she most likely wouldn't be here today. This could have happened to anyone, man or woman. Please, just be careful out there. Well, that last story took a turn. Thank God she's alive. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all so very much. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell notification to see my new uploads. Thanks, and have a creepy night.